Every BTS member was asked the same Grammy question, but no one, especially the US reporters, was prepared for what happened next. Hey, if you've ever believed the Grammy story was simply about winning or losing, you're about to discover a completely different side of BTS. Years ago, they fought to earn recognition on music's biggest stage, but today they're calm. Unexpected response has sparked debates across the industry and left millions of ARMY asking the same question. And what each member revealed made this story even more unforgettable. So, let's start from the bottom. Number 7. Jimin, BTS. Before anyone expected a serious discussion about the Grammys, Jimin did what he has always done best. He changed the atmosphere with confidence and humor. As cameras surrounded BTS, one US reporter says, "After everything you've achieved, does the Grammys still matter to you?" Instead of showing frustration, Jimin smiled, while RM began answering on behalf of the group, and Jin's calm expression immediately caught everyone's attention. Years ago, BTS stood on the Grammy stage as artists hoping to break barriers. Today, they stood there as global icons who had already rewritten music history. That contrast alone surprised many journalists covering the event. One entertainment reporter says, "I expected disappointment," while another responds, "They're talking about music, their fans, and their journey instead of chasing a trophy." That unexpected tone quickly became one of the biggest talking points among reporters. ARMY noticed it immediately. One fan says, "Jimin always reminds us to enjoy the moment," while another replies, "That's exactly why BTS feels different from everyone else." Rather than focusing on what they hadn't won, fans celebrated how the members refused to let one award define their legacy. Looking back, Jin's greatest strength wasn't delivering the loudest answer, it was showing quiet confidence. Without raising his voice or changing his smile, he helped reinforce the message that BTS had already earned something far greater than industry validation, the respect of millions around the world. But that was only the beginning, because the next member revealed an even stronger reason why BTS's response left so many US reporters completely speechless. Number 6. J-Hope. If Jimin brought calm confidence, J-Hope brought undeniable optimism. As the conversation about the Grammys continued, another US reporter says, "After everything that's happened, what keeps BTS motivated?" Instead of talking about awards, J-Hope immediately shifted the focus. He emphasized performing for fans, creating meaningful music, and continuing to grow as artists. It wasn't the answer many reporters expected. The room suddenly felt different. One entertainment journalist says, "I thought they would talk about finally winning a Grammy." Then another reporter responds, "They're talking about passion instead of trophies." That contrast quickly became one of the most discussed moments among the media covering BTS. For years, J-Hope had been known as the member who lifted the group's energy, even during the most demanding schedules. Whether performing on the world's biggest stages or speaking in interviews, he consistently reminded fans that success meant more than collecting awards. That mindset became even more meaningful as discussions surrounding the Grammys intensified. ARMY quickly noticed the message. One fan says, "This is why I admire J-Hope. He always focuses on the journey, not just the destination," while another replies, "His confidence comes from knowing what BTS has already accomplished together." Industry observers also picked up on the same pattern. A music analyst says, "BTS isn't measuring success by one ceremony anymore," and another commentator answers, "That's exactly why their words carry so much weight." Instead of sounding disappointed, the members sounded grateful for the path that had brought them this far. But what happened next was even more surprising, because the next member revealed a perspective on music and recognition that challenged the way many people think about success itself. Number 5. Suga. If J-Hope spoke about passion, Suga brought the conversation to something even deeper. During interviews over the years, Suga has repeatedly made it clear that creating honest music has always mattered more than collecting trophies. So when the Grammy discussion resurfaced, one US reporter says, "Do awards still motivate BTS?" and another journalist quietly waits for a different answer. Instead, the focus once again shifted away from awards and back to the music itself. That response caught many people off guard. Years ago, critics believed BTS needed a Grammy to complete their legacy. Now, after breaking countless global records and reaching millions of listeners worldwide, the conversation had completely changed. One entertainment analyst says they're no longer asking what the Grammys can do for BTS, while another responds, they're asking what BTS has already done for global music. ARMY immediately understood why Suga's perspective felt so powerful. One fan says he's always been honest about making music first, while another replies, that's why his words feel genuine instead of rehearsed. Across social media, many fans praised the group's consistency, saying their values had never changed despite their unprecedented success. Even industry observers acknowledged the irony. A music producer says most artists dream of reaching the Grammys, then another executive responds, BTS reached a point where their influence extends far beyond a single award. The discussion was no longer centered on one ceremony, it had become a conversation about artistic identity, creative freedom, and the impact of music across cultures. But that wasn't the biggest surprise yet, because the next member would deliver the kind of perspective only a leader could, turning one simple Grammy question into a much bigger conversation about respect, equality, and the future of global music. Number 4. RM, BTS. If Suga spoke from the heart of an artist, RM spoke with the responsibility of a leader. As microphones moved closer, one US reporter says, after everything BTS has achieved, how important is a Grammy to the group? For a brief moment, the room fell silent. Instead of giving the dramatic answer everyone expected, RM calmly explained that every award is meaningful, but their greatest achievement has always been making music that connects with people around the world. That single response changed the atmosphere. One entertainment reporter says, I expected him to talk about disappointment, while another journalist responds, instead, he's talking about music without borders. It wasn't anger. It wasn't frustration. It was confidence built from years of proving that language had never been a barrier to reaching millions of listeners. The contrast couldn't have been stronger. Years ago, BTS entered the American music industry as underdogs trying to earn respect. Today, they had already topped the Billboard Hot 100, sold out stadiums across continents, and inspired artists around the world. Yet RM's message remained remarkably simple. Music should unite people, not divide them. ARMY quickly echoed the same feeling. One fan says, that's why RM is such an incredible leader, while another replies, he never speaks only for BTS, he speaks for every artist trying to break barriers. Across social media, countless fans praised his calm approach, saying his words carried more weight than any emotional reaction ever could. Even some industry commentators admitted the conversation had shifted. One music analyst says, this isn't just about BTS anymore. Then another responds, it's about whether global artists should be recognized without being defined by language or region. Suddenly, the Grammy question had evolved into something much bigger than one group. But what happened next carried even more emotion, because the next member didn't need a long speech to leave a lasting impression. His sincerity alone spoke louder than words. Number 3. Jimin. If RM answered with wisdom, Jimin captured everyone's attention with pure sincerity. As another US reporter says, what keeps BTS moving forward after everything you've achieved? Many expected another conversation about awards. Instead, Jimin's focus immediately returned to the people who had been with BTS from the very beginning, the fans. That simple shift surprised the entire room. One journalist says, he didn't mention the Grammys first, while another reporter responds, he talked about ARMY before anything else. In that moment, the story was no longer about a trophy. It became a story about gratitude, loyalty, and the bond that had carried BTS through every milestone. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Years ago, BTS stood on international stages hoping the world would listen. Today, after breaking countless records and becoming one of the biggest music acts on the planet, Jimin still spoke as if the journey had only been possible because millions of fans believed in them when almost no one else did. ARMY immediately embraced the message. One fan says, That's why Jimin always touches people's hearts, while another replies, he never forgets who stood beside BTS before the world recognized them. Across social media, fans shared clips of his interviews, praising his humility even after reaching extraordinary success. Even entertainment commentators noticed the emotional impact. One analyst says, most superstars would celebrate their achievements, then another responds, Jimin keeps bringing the conversation back to the fans. That quiet sincerity became far more powerful than any dramatic headline, reminding everyone that BTS's greatest strength had never been an award. It was the relationship they built with people around the world. But the biggest surprise was still ahead, because the next member would create a moment so unforgettable that even seasoned US reporters couldn't hide their amazement. Number 2. BTS. If Jimin won hearts with sincerity, V left people speechless with quiet confidence. As cameras continued flashing, one US reporter says, "Do you still feel there's something left to prove at the Grammys?" For a brief second, everyone expected a passionate answer. Instead, V remained remarkably calm, smiling as the conversation shifted back to BTS's music, performances, and the people who had supported them all along. That unexpected composure immediately caught the media's attention. One entertainment journalist says, "I thought he'd talk about unfinished business," while another reporter responds, "He looks completely confident with everything BTS has already accomplished." The atmosphere changed from curiosity to genuine admiration. The contrast was striking. Years ago, V and the rest of BTS walked into the American music industry hoping to earn a chance to be heard. Today, they had already performed on some of the world's biggest stages, broken countless records, and built a fan base that stretched across every continent. Yet V never acted like someone chasing validation. He carried himself like an artist who already knew his journey had a deeper purpose. ARMY quickly celebrated that moment. One fan says, "V doesn't need to say much because his confidence says everything," while another replies, "That's the difference between seeking recognition and knowing your own value." Across social media, fans praised the group's maturity, saying their success had never changed who they were. Even industry commentators noticed the same pattern. One music analyst says, "BTS isn't trying to convince the world anymore." Then another responds, "The world is trying to understand why BTS continues to inspire millions." That realization turned a simple interview into something far more meaningful than another discussion about awards. But everything led to this final moment, because one member delivered the most unforgettable response of all, a response that perfectly captured why BTS's legacy could never be measured by a single Grammy trophy. Number 1. Jungkook. Everything led to this moment. If every member had shared a different perspective, Jungkook represented the future that BTS had been fighting for since the very beginning. As another US reporter says, "After everything that's happened with the Grammys, what comes next for BTS?" The room fell completely silent. Everyone expected the conversation to return to awards. Instead, the focus once again returned to the music, the performances, and the fans waiting around the world. That answer surprised even veteran journalists. One reporter says, "I thought this would be about unfinished dreams," while another responds, "Instead, they're talking about new music and new memories." In that instant, the biggest Grammy story wasn't about a trophy anymore. It was about a group refusing to let any single award define who they were. The contrast couldn't have been greater. Years ago, 7 young artists from South Korea entered an industry where many believed language would always be a barrier. They faced doubt, criticism, and impossible expectations. Today, after breaking global records, selling out stadiums, topping charts, and inspiring millions across generations, they stood stronger than ever, not because of one award, but because of the journey they had built together. ARMY understood the message immediately. One fan says, "This is why we've stayed with BTS for so many years," while another replies, "Their greatest achievement has never been a trophy. It has always been the people they've inspired." Across social media, countless fans shared the same feeling. True success isn't measured by what sits on a shelf, but by the lives you change along the way. Looking back, perhaps the most unforgettable response wasn't a single sentence from one member. It was the message all 7 members had consistently shown through their actions. Awards can honor great artists, but they don't create them. BTS had already proven that music has the power to cross languages, cultures, and borders, and no ceremony could ever define the legacy they had written together. And maybe that's why this story resonated with so many people around the world. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't hearing your name called on stage. It's reaching a point where your music, your values, and the people who believe in you become a legacy that no award can ever measure.